Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. How can you guys say that President Biden was not a close contact with Speaker Pelosi when there is video of the speaker kissing him?
Well, Peter, the way that it is defined is by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and their definition of it is 15 minutes of contact within a set period of time and within 6 feet. It did not meet that bar. It does not mean that that no one will get COVID around the world who does not have a close contact. It just means we are defining for all of you whether the president and their interaction met the definition of the CDC of a close contact.
Half the cabinet was there on Tuesday. At least 2 additional cabinet members, Raimondo and Garland, already have COVID. Is there a threat that this is going to be a national security problem if the cabinet comes to the White House and starts getting infected with COVID?
Well, I don't think, Peter, we can assess where they got COVID or where they acquired COVID or whatever the right way to say that is. I don't know that it was Tuesday. There are other events, obviously, that have happened over the course of the last week as well. They are all boosted. They are all, many of them are able to work from home, as many staff and even reporters are who are vaccinated and boosted. And they all have a talented and experienced team who is stepping into their shoes where needed in the office.
When the last president wanted to host a big event for a Supreme Court nominee here at the White House, some folks got COVID, and then former Vice President Biden called it a super spreader event. So is there any risk that this event tomorrow for a Biden Supreme Court justice is going to be a super spreader event?
Well, one, at that point in time, vaccines weren't available. People were not vaccinated. It certainly puts us in a different space. This event is also going to be outside tomorrow.
And then on a different topic, when Title 42 expires next month, what is the plan for the 18,000 migrants a day that are going to cross? Do you want them to get jobs here? Is there something else that you want these 18,000 a day to be doing?
I don't know where you're basing your specific numbers on, Peter, but what I would tell you...
I've got it right here. Earlier this week, the department gave reporters an estimate that up to 18,000 migrants could be apprehended at the border each day if Title 42 were being lifted.
Up to, and we'll see what happens. And obviously we're taking steps to convey that this is not the time to come. Individuals who come to the border, this is what would happen. CBP and ICE would work together to ensure that anyone who enters the country without authorization is put into immigration proceedings as quickly as possible. CBP has been working with ICE to ensure individuals awaiting processing in the interior of the country would be monitored under the Alternatives to Detention program. We know that to date, nearly 80% of non-citizens waiting in the interior under prosecutorial discretion have either received a notice to appear or are still within their window to report. That is what would happen. In addition, I would note the Department of Homeland Security also put together a preparedness plan to continue addressing irregular migration that involves surging personnel and resources to the border, improving border processing, implementing mitigation measures, and working with other countries in the hemisphere to manage migration. Those are all steps that they're working to do in order to implement when we get to that point in time.
And the last one on this, now that the Texas governor is saying that he's going to start busing border crossers to Washington, D.C., when they get here, are you guys going to help them find a place to stay and something for them to do?
Well, I'm not aware of what authority the governor would be doing that under. I think it's pretty clear this is a publicity stunt. His own office admits that a migrant would need to voluntarily be transported, and he can't compel them to because, again, enforcement of our country's immigration laws lies with the federal government, not a state.
Washington, D.C.?
Well, listen, I don't know, but I know that the governor of Texas or any state does not have the legal authority to compel anyone to get on a bus. Go ahead.
Jen, is there pressure to avoid saying that President Biden has had a close contact given his position and the demands of his schedule?
No, we announced yesterday the vice president had a close contact, and if there is 15 minutes that he spends with somebody in person within 6 feet and they test positive for COVID, then that would be a close contact.
So given you said doesn't necessarily take 15 minutes to get COVID, right? So it could take less than that. Obviously, he was around Nancy Pelosi and many others. Are you doing anything differently? Is there anything being done differently given that circumstance for the president?
He was tested last night and tested negative, and if his doctor deems he should be tested more frequently, he certainly could do that. But
for
again,
example-
the CDC guidelines are in place, and the CDC specifics on what a close contact and how it's defined are in place for a reason, to give everybody clear, data-driven guidance.
It is clear, but it's not always accurate, right? Because it doesn't take 15 minutes to get COVID, and this is more transmissible, this latest variant, than other variants in the past. It doesn't necessarily require that much time. For example, yesterday we were in the state dining room. The president was face-to-face with many individuals, right up in their mugs for extended periods of time because he was enjoying this moment, a chance to visit with folks. So for clarity, not everybody in that room was tested in advance of arriving, correct?
Correct.
So some of those people who may have been further back but ultimately had, I don't know, 5 minutes, we watched for an hour literally, in the room, may not have been with him for 15 minutes, but could have been in his face having not been tested for an extended
Well,
period of
again,
time.
if individuals are within 6 feet of him for 15 minutes or more, that's considered a close contact. No one in there was, that I'm aware of.
Jackson tested negative before her visit today, I trust.
I don't have any more details on Ketanji Brown Jackson's
Let me ask
testing
you-
protocols.
Let me ask you about the Secret Service very quickly if I can. Does the president